All right, Christine Wade from USC, Herman Ostrow School of Dentistry admissions. Thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, David. So just a quick little intro about me and what I do and what my role is with this whole process. So as David mentioned, my name is Christine. I'm one of the DDS admission counselors who works with all of you guys as prospective applicants or applicants through hopefully being admitted and enrolling with us. My newer role this year is that I'm actually overseeing and I guess what you would call managing the admission process. So, interview invites, Kira invites, questions about the whole process, etc. They're all coming from me. So, I am definitely here to answer some questions, share some information, and more importantly, by the time or before we leave today, I will drop my email into the chat. I will share it with David as well. And if you guys have any personal questions that sometimes maybe feel comfortable going on beyond the chat, if you're worried about a DAT score, how you should be updating your application if you've already applied, um, please feel free to reach out to me and I'm happy to set up a one-on-one appointment over Zoom. Or if I'm not available for some reason, I will introduce you to one of my colleagues and we can get you guys set up on Zoom appointments and your questions answered. So I've been with Osho now for, I think I'm in my 8th year, about to start my 9th year with USC, specifically the dental school. And as you heard David mention, we've really started to work with UC Santa Barbara really right at the height of COVID again. We did a lot of virtual presentations. We've done some in person. I got to attend your grad fair a year or two ago. So based on scheduling, we try really hard to work with you guys specifically because the caliber, we know that you guys are interested, you're close by. It gives you guys an opportunity to still serve the communities in Southern California that you're wanting to serve. So I very much understand the curriculum you guys have, etc. So I am going to make a plug. If anyone is part of the pre-dental organization, we are looking to do something in the fall or spring with you guys again to continue working on this partnership. I think this year, I should know off the top of my head, I apologize, I don't. I think in total, we have about 10 or 12 students from UCSB that are currently dental students across all years. I will say your numbers have drastically increased in the last couple of years. And I think it is because of things that David and myself and my colleagues do, these relationships that we build with you guys. So basically, that is my long-winded answer to say, I am here as a resource. Please feel free to let me know of any questions, and we'll just kind of jump right into it. So the presentation that I have is a little generic, but I'm going to go through it to get to the specific points. Can I see by a show of maybe virtual hands? You guys don't have to turn your cameras on. Have the 4 of you applied? Are you thinking about applying? Where are we in our process so I can kind of tailor the info a little bit more? Ramon, you've applied? Okay, can I ask, have the other 3, if you guys can hear me, have applied yet? All right, never mind. So we'll jump into the presentation. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, I was looking in the chat. I'm not seeing anything, so I'm not sure. They can maybe post in the chat if they didn't get their hands raised in time.
That's okay. All right, just to start off, if you all haven't been to visit campus yet, this is the dental school. We have 2 locations that when you hear about like USC campuses, one of them is the hospital and the med school. You guys will go up there for some of your coursework, but for the most part, our dental school is in downtown LA. So when you hear about USC as a undergrad institution, this actually is where the dental school is located. I also wanted to let you guys know that if you haven't checked it out already, we have all of our monthly information dates posted on the website. So if you guys ever found yourself in LA, you wanted to come take a tour, maybe you get an interview, maybe depending on where you are in the process, you want to actually come physically see the school, We have all of the dates posted through December, so please, when you have a moment, take a gander and look to see if any of those dates work. We'd love to have you. Um, so you are here today to talk about our DDS program. We know that. But we just like to share that if you guys are already starting to think about your residencies, online, hybrid programs post DDS, this is everything that we offer. So, what's really why I share this kind of on the earlier side with you guys is because a lot of our student clubs, a lot of the organizations and opportunities we have, something such as what we call selectives, we kind of call them like mini residencies. You guys have an opportunity to really get involved. So, like, I'm going to pick on David. Let's pretend David wants to become a pediatric dentist. We actually have a program during dental school that you guys can apply to. And if you're admitted, it shifts your patient focus to be on pediatrics only. So one of the opportunities that I think in dental school is really helpful are some of these selectives that really build your opportunities to look at residencies if that is something you're interested in. I just like sharing this. This is a fun picture. This is our white coat ceremony from this last year. So white coats, if you guys are unfamiliar, is a ceremony that a lot of medical programs, med school, dental schools, physical therapy, et cetera, usually get their white medical lab coats. Some schools start it once you go into the clinic. Our belief is that your dental education journey starts with us day one. So this will happen. This is actually happening this Sunday for all of our new international dentists and all of our new DDS students this coming weekend. And this is our dean down in the middle, USC alum, as well as our Ostrow alum. So he's been with us now for about 25 years. All right. I think most of you guys are applicants, and maybe you know this, maybe you don't, but what your main time with us is going to look like is what we like to call a hybrid education. And I know these last number of years, hybrid for the most part means like online versus in person. And by hybrid, we mean it is such a hands-on, different approach. You're going to do all different kinds of things to make up the entirety of your education. I think one of the main things that draw people to USC is our PBL curriculum. So you're still going to have lectures, you're still going to be in SimLab, you're still going to go through rotations, but PBL or problem-based learning is something that you guys are going to do for the first 3 out of your 4 years. And very simply, you guys are going to get a case, you're going to learn how to take it apart, you are going to learn how to ask, what do I know? What do I think might be wrong? And what do I need to know? And I think as an outsider who is not in the dental profession looking in, I think this really teaches you guys a chairside manner. When you have a new patient you're coming to see for the first time, maybe Ramon is the oral surgeon and he's been referred a patient, and you guys see a patient for the first time. Maybe you guys have some biases you're not aware of. You see someone and maybe they're a certain size and you go, oh, they automatically probably have this medical problem. Until you talk to them and until you learn and understand what is going on, you're not going to be able to treat them effectively. So I think this really shows students how to get involved and how to look at, I think, readjust the lens that you're looking at a situation with. And I think that's probably the most unique thing about Ostrow. What this ties into is when you start to take your boards between your 3rd and 4th year, the boards are now more of an integrated approach, and that changed about, I think now 4 years ago, to a more case-based situation. So here we are doing this for the last 23 years. So this is also showing to our about 96% board pass rate yearly. So the PBL really sets you up for a successful graduation and start into the professional world. Another really big thing is the volunteer work you guys are able to do as early as your first year. Our students can go out into the mobile clinic. You're not necessarily working on the patients. You might be able to assist, but maybe you're checking patients in. We just had a group of students over summer break go to Jamaica for 15 days, and they saw something like 300, 400 patients, and some of them were D1s, but they checked people in. It was triage. Who do you need to see? The paperwork, talking to them as they were bringing them into their appointments. So you have an opportunity to serve the communities that you're in, to travel both domestically and abroad, and be a resource to people who desperately need it. So I think those two things, being in the community and our PBL, is probably what draws our students to us the most. One of our PBL groups, it's about 8 to 9 students. So another common question I think a lot of students, as they're going through the process, ask is, what is our class size? And unfortunately, that's a little hard to answer because of the hybrid curriculum we have set up. And again, so what I mean by that, your PBL class, guys, is only 8 or 9 people. You might have a lecture that's 144 of you, because our incoming class every year is is 144 students. I would say when you're looking across the country at the dental schools, I would call us about a mid-size dental school. Some of them on the East Coast are 300 plus students. Some of them are 60 to 80 students. So I like to say a mid-range size dental school. But your PBL groups are, 8 to 9 students. Your rotation through radiology or patient assessment might only be 12 of you, because we can't fit 144 of you in one clinic. So it really is an opportunity for your faculty to get to know you in these smaller settings, and you really get that patient interaction, your faculty interaction, and you really get to build those relationships with everyone that you are working with. Okay, what our actual data looks like. So we just wrapped up orientation, and so we are in our first week of school. So yes, this data is technically a year old, but I know the incoming data for this year. So USC is on a rolling admission process. Now, what that means for you guys as current applicants is, you all know that the applications opened up June 3rd. We started reviewing. We will start interviewing historically end of September to about March or April. But in between that, December 15th comes. So yes, people who interview before December 15th will have that opportunity to hear. But our deadline is actually February 1st of every year. So this year it would be February 1st of 2026 that we will continue to accept applications. We will continue to review them. And again, historically, we will interview through March or April, depending on what our class looked like. So this last year, we saw about 2,500 applications. For the class of 2025, we saw about 2,700 to 2,800 applications. And this year we are tracking to be about 3,000 applications. As I mentioned, we bring in a class of 144. And so we will interview between 600 and 700 applicants, and then we admit from there. Our females are winning out. This year, we're at about 55% female and about 49% male. What I want to talk about specifically, these numbers always change, so it's interesting to see. This year, we saw about 42 different undergrad institutions. UCSB, as I mentioned, is pretty high up there. I'd say predominantly our population does come from California. So if you guys are an out-of-state student who are at UCSB, please know that we don't look at you guys as an in-state versus an out-of-state student. We just look at your application. Our numbers look like they're from California, or our numbers from California are so much stronger just because we're a popular California school. So we don't give priority to California students. It's just such a heavier number that it looks distorted. But they came from, I think, 18 states this year, and majors. So I know as applicants, you're not thinking about this yet, or not yet, but you don't maybe think about this, is that, guys, we don't really care what your major is or what your degree will be in. We look at prereqs, we look at test scores, which we'll get into. Um, but we just want to see a strong competitive application. Yes, our common degrees tend to be in the sciences, so biomed science, biology, chemistry, physics, but also really popular have been the social sciences, have been business. Because if you guys are wanting to go on that path of maybe opening your own practice, having a business background is very popular and I think a great idea. So as we go through the review process, please know that we're not looking at your degree. We are looking at the information, your stats, everything else that you're bringing in. All right. If, again, hopefully you guys are all applicants. If you've taken the DAT or you are about to take the DAT or even thinking that you need to retake it, here is the info on the dental admission test. If you guys took it before, maybe you took it in January of this year, hopefully you all know that the DAT scoring changed March 1st of 2025. In the past, our minimum cutoff was a 15 in every section. The equivalent of that still stands. So as you guys see in these 6 sections, these are the minimum cutoffs that we need to see. Our averages are about an equivalent to a 23 on the old scoring system. So between a 21 and a 23. So we are looking at about 400 to about 460 as our normal ranges. Just if you all took the DAT again, please know that we are not a school that super scores. We're only going to look at your most recent exam, but we will take note of, like, if Sarah retook her DAT and she got a better score, I'm going to say applicant retook DAT and scores increased. So as long as we see that minimum cutoff, we're good to go. Okay. We also, so like I said, we don't super score them and we only use the most recent test exam. If you guys took the old version and took it before March 1st or March 1st, when we get your application and when we review it, we're going to see them transcribed into the 3 digits score. So this was last year's data. Our average, so as you guys may know, our ADSES applications generate 4 different GPAs, main GPAs. Ostrow's policy is that we are going to take your overall into account and we're going to take your overall science into account. I also know that Santa Barbara is sometimes, depending on where you come from, is very popular for transfer students. So I just want to clarify that if you guys transferred into Santa Barbara, or if you guys maybe started there from your freshman year, but went to like Santa Barbara City to take a class or 2 to get them out of the way, all undergrad college work is going to be averaged together, or not averaged together. ADSES will take all college work to generate your GPAs. So if you transferred in and you only see your GPA from Santa Barbara, know that your transfer work is also going to be calculated into your GPA. And the data trending so far for this year's class is about the same. I think for the overall GPA, we're at a 3.77. And I think the average science is a 3.68. So it's about the same. And the DAT scores are also trending at about the same.
So I'm so glad you brought this
Yeah.
up, Christine. I've never asked this before and of an admissions person, whether
Yeah.
med or dent, but you brought it up and I'm delighted actually because it reminds me. Students sometimes are apprehensive about taking classes at a community college. Isn't that going to look bad? Dot, 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 right? And invariably, my response is no. I mean, if you're taking a class and you fail your Gen Chem twice and then you take it at the CC, that looks like you can't hit big league pitching, right? That may be a problem. But if you're just, as you said, taking a class to knock out a prereq, not an issue. I mean, to my knowledge, Tufts is the only school in the country, med or dent, that says none of your prereqs can be done at a community college, which is so both elitist and tone deaf, but I will not rant on that. But otherwise, I mean, it's perfectly fine to take those prereqs at a CC. Yes.
Absolutely. So I will say we prefer to see them from a 4 year, but we also understand that there are drastic situations that not everyone can do that, especially at a UC school. Let's pretend David is a business major and he does not have priority to take biology or chemistry because of the impaction of the major. That is not your fault that you can't take those prereqs. So in those situations, we absolutely are fine with you guys going to a local community college. Now, if you apply and you have 15 different community colleges on your transcript and you're failing classes and you're not passing them and you're repeating them from one community college to one UC to one Cal State, then we might have a little bit of a problem.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you guys are taking those classes, successfully passing them, getting them out of the way, that is not a problem specifically for Ostrow. Can't speak to any other school, but that is not a problem for us.
Is there, are you gonna, I don't want to jump the gun here. Do you talk about prereqs in the ensuing slides
Yep,
or? Okay,
absolutely.
great. Yeah.
Um, Speaking of, next slide, prereqs. Okay, so all with Ostro, a bachelor's degree is required, but we understand with the timing of the timing of the application, if you guys are applying in more of a traditional sense where you want to start dental school immediately after you graduate, you're going to apply potentially with all of these classes still in progress. So we understand that. But if you are on track to be meeting your bachelor degree requirements, we are actually going to waive the last 2 years of what I kind of call like a GE, like your English, philosophy, history. Because if you're going to be earning a degree from UC Santa Barbara, we kind of assume you've met your English comp requirements. So our main focus are on our 4 sciences. We need a year of Gen Bio, a year of Gen Chem or Inorganic Chem, a year of OChem, and a year of general physics. Now, what that means between semester and quarter units. Most semester schools, we mean 2 semesters of lecture and 2 semesters of a lab. UCs are all going to be individually different. I do have them specifically listed on another sheet. I should have made that shareable with you guys. If there are prereq questions, please feel free to email me and I'm happy to go through your prereqs with you. I think I'm gonna say this wrong. Organic chem is like chem. It's like 6A, 6.
So we have we have 3 lectures,
Yeah,
and then
and
labs are a
then
separate entry,
two
but
labs. Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
So I just mean when you see something on our website or presentation that says like 3/4 of a lecture, 3/4 of a lab, we are saying that as like a general statement.
Yeah.
But we understand that every UC and every quarter system is slightly different. But what I do want to point out, especially with our sciences, is we do not accept AP credit for our science coursework. What we will allow in bio is an upper division course in lieu of that. So like if you all come into Santa Barbara with your first semester or first quarter of lecture and lab waived because of AP credit or something like IB credit, but you go and take a quarter of an upper division anatomy, physio, microbio, genetics, immunology, virology, which are all great recommended courses for dentistry, that will be used in lieu of your AP credit. Unfortunately, there's not a whole heck of a lot that can be replaced for Gen Chem or Inorganic Chem. In some instances, if a school has physical chemistry with a lab, we've allowed that. Organic Chem, there's pretty much nothing that I'm aware of that can replace Organic Chem. Physics, it does not need to be, so also the same AP credit, you would have to take the class over again or go to like a community college to take it if you had already gotten AP credit for it. But a note about physics, based on your major, some of you might be taking physics with calculus. Some of you might be taking like an algebra or a trig-based physics. Either one of those is fine. Or if you guys have a physics sequence, like USC has a physics sequence that is called General Physics for Allied Health Majors. And it's basically a algebra trig based physics class, but it's meant specifically for dentistry, med school, nursing, etc. So if you guys take one of those like allied health, general physics for, whatever, that is allowed for us as well. Okay.
I mean, the good news is there's no AP Bio that supplants at UCSB anyway, that supplants the Gen Bio sequence, so that's
Okay.
immaterial. The only thing that might be pertinent here is the AP Phys Mechanics
Yeah.
C but that's pretty rare.
There's very little at USC for our undergrads that actually count, but there are
Yeah.
some schools that are very
Yeah.
liberal with AP credit. So we just like to make that general statement for everyone.
So anatomy is not required, though. I know some dental schools
Um,
require anatomy. You
so
all don't.
anatomy is not required. Another very popular one is biochem, and that is not required for us.
Okay, cool.
Those are very strongly. So I would say if anatomy stands still by itself at Santa Barbara and it's not like anatomy physio, I would say just anatomy. But things like biochem, genetics, histology is probably a really popular one. But I also think things like, so all obviously the sciences that fall under the biology realm are the most popular. But I think things I always suggest if you guys are looking for like filler classes, maybe you have a really hard semester or quarter coming up, but you need like 2 or 3 more units. If you guys think about if you kind of are toying with the idea of like pediatric dentistry, take a child psychology class. Look at what your GE requirements are that you have to meet in those certain categories and see what classes could be applied to a group of people that you might see as your future patients. So that tends to fall under the social sciences. So psychology, sociology, look if, or you want to take a foreign language. If you feel like you're going to want to be in LA and you all want to learn Spanish, like you can look for those filler courses that always feel helpful. All right, you all know this information, so I'm going to skip over this, what to include in your application. And if you guys have questions specifically after I'm done, I'm more than happy to go back over it, but I know as applicants, you know this information. But the review process. So let's say you've all hit submit, you've submitted your application, you have your DAT scores. We've talked about our GPA and our DAT requirements. So where we stand now, I'm going to get your application. We're going to review it. Okay. I'm going to look at GPA, DAT scores, everything in your application. We do, and I apologize, I'm backtracking. I should have mentioned our minimum cutoff is a 2.89. And that minimum cutoff for those two categories of the overall GPA and the science GPA is a 2.89. But you saw our averages are about that 3.7 competitive average. We look at everything. So the minimum cutoff, we go, okay, step one, you clear the requirements. Let's mark you for review. You get reviewed. We're going to look at everything. We're going to look at your GPA. Maybe your GPA is a smidge lower than our average, but maybe you're paying for school by yourself and maybe you are working 2 jobs. We're going to take that all into account. Okay. The next step, which we'll talk about in a minute a little bit more, is we invite students who meet those first kind of round of requirements to complete what we call a CURA assessment. It is gaining popularity with dental schools across the country. We've been doing it now for about 5-6 years. And you guys are going to be invited. You'll log into a portal. We are going to pose questions for you. You'll record yourself, a video, record yourself answering them. We will get them. We watch them. We do what we do with them. And then you get reviewed again. And then you potentially will be invited to an interview. Then you get reviewed again and you potentially get admitted. So this process is not just a one and done for Ostrow. We are going to look at your application multiple times, but I do want to be clear. Getting a CURA is a great first step. It is not automatic. I think an assumption is that everyone who applies gets a Kira, and that's not true. Kira invites will be sent out in batches. So going back to that rolling admission. So please, I don't want you sitting here going, well, I applied in June and I haven't gotten a Kira yet. It doesn't mean that it's not coming. It just means it hasn't happened yet. It's ongoing through our whole process. And you'll continue to get reviewed. Kira is a great first step, but Kira is not indicative of an interview. It's just our first application step.
So will Kira, whatever you're calling those,
Yeah.
Kira, kind of prompts, will those happen past December? I mean, you mentioned, or is that going into the spring as well?
That's going into the spring as well, because we'll continue to accept those applications until February 1st. So Kira
Okay.
usually goes through March, whenever we decide interviews are going to be done. Kira will be wrapped just slightly before that, because Kira would be the first step of inviting you to an interview, potentially. I do want to be very clear, especially if you guys are going to be talking to some of our alums, if you connect with them somehow. Some of our students who are older, like our fourth years right now, Kira was part of their interview. We've changed some things around a little bit. Now it's part of the application process. So if someone goes, oh, you got a Kira interview, that's awesome. Just remember that it's the first step. It's not guaranteed an interview.
So speaking of Kira,
Yeah.
I know in USC Keck School of Medicine also uses
Mhm.
Kira. But it's a mystery for there's not an awful lot of schools. I know like California University of Science and Medicine also uses Kira as a sort of first cut. Do you have any, since you brought this up, Kira, do you have any? I certainly tell my students, do all the research that you can on the Google machine about Kira. Don't blunder into it and say, I don't know what this Kira thing is, but I'm just going to go for it. I mean, I know one of my really successful applicants last year, he got a Kira invite from you all and he got bodied. And it was like that clear. He knew in real time that that was a disaster. And he never heard from y'all again. Now, fortunately, he's a D1 at UCSF and he's everything happy ending. But can you talk about what makes for a good Kira interview where Ostrow is concerned?
I think with Kira, it does a couple of different things. What Kira is rooted in, where it comes from, it's this video platform that really became popular in the wake of the pandemic, because we were all trying to figure out how to get to know you guys without being able to physically see you. So what we started using Kira for is because we had started implementing using what we call MMI interviews, or multi-mini interviews, which are very common with med schools. It's a thought process that came from dental schools in Canada, and it's picked up some steam. And it's not necessarily, hey, Sally Sue, tell me about your favorite color. It's a situation-based question that we can say, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Explain. And if it's done right, we hope to learn more about how you guys kind of go through your thought process, how you guys maybe handle certain situations. We might say, the sky is purple. Do you disagree? Yes or no? And you then have to explain. So if you go, you're stupid, the sky is blue. Or do you go, okay, I can see where you might think that, but this is where I think this. It gives you a chance to work through these scenarios that are sometimes there'll be personal questions about yourself. Sometimes they will be case-based scenarios. Sometimes they will be all sorts of different questions that we hope to get just an idea of how you are answering these questions, and we see is your thought process.
And I've also heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I've also heard that, not that it's production value necessarily, but looking at the webcam when you're responding to these Kira prompts, I mean, to the extent that you can smile and look at the camera and keep talking, you know, there is some merit to that kind of approach to Kira in addition to the substance of your
and,
answer, correct?
and yes, absolutely. And I have to be honest and say, is it a perfect science? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Do we have people who are super strong who don't get in? there's so many different things that we look at, but I also look at a student the same. You don't have to be sitting in front of a multi-million dollar backdrop. You can, I will be honest, I've had students sit in their cars. It's the situation that you're in, and as
Wow.
long as it's completed. But I also don't need to see like a cat walking across your screen or if your laptop dies. So we would hope that you set up an environment where you're able to complete this successfully. And as David just mentioned, you're looking into the camera, you're asking these questions, or you're answering these questions. So I think it's an opportunity for us to learn more about you, and their questions that are being asked are questions that are not on the application. So can you prepare for it? I don't think you can. I don't think there's a way to be perfect at this. And that's okay. We don't want to see you being absolutely perfect. We want your honest answers to these questions. So, yes, can you be prepared in the aspect that, like, you close your bedroom door so it's kind of quiet, or you go to a Starbucks or a Panera so you have a somewhat quiet setting? You make sure all of the things you can control. That is how I would prepare for it. There's a lot on Google about multi-mini interviews that sometimes they're done in person. So just watch it with a grain of salt, knowing that not every school is going to do it in the same way. But there is a lot of resources on MMI style questions for dental school and medical school interviews.
And we do mock interviews here ad nauseum with MMI, depending upon some are traditional and we'll do it
Yep.
that way. Some are MMI and we'll subject students at their request to mock interviews. So yeah, if you're a student on here as applying down the road, fret not. We'll get you sorted out.
So speaking of interviews, the next portion of our process is that you guys will be invited to an in-person interview. They'll be historically, as I mentioned, September through March or April. So past the 15th, you can absolutely still be invited to an interview and you can absolutely still be admitted. So December 15th, this process is not done for us. Our orientation was just this last week, the last week of August. I admitted someone on the first day of orientation. He was there on the second day of orientation.
Wow.
Mhm. So when we say rolling admission, you can be interviewed I think he was interviewed in February. He reapplied for next cycle.
I imagine.
And,
Yeah.
and I called him and I said, hey, guess what? And he was there the next day.
Wow.
And
Must have
he
been a
said,
local guy, huh?
somewhat local, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, but our interviews, yes. So they are a little less than 20% are invited to an interview. As I mentioned, PBL being a huge piece of your curriculum is what we will do. So your whole day, it's a presentation from our Assistant Dean of Admission and Student Affairs. It is a dental school tour. It is a lunch that we do with you guys, and we have our and student ambassadors come and join you guys for lunch, so you get to talk to students. But the main part of your interview is a group interview that there are no more than 8 people total, depending on that day. And you guys will be given a case, and either myself or another admission staff will be in the room with you, as well as a faculty. Um, and they are completely closed file. No one, our faculty who are joining us will know nothing about you guys. You guys are coming in, you have an opportunity to just be you. You're not, I mean, I might know you because we potentially have worked together, but our faculty are not going to know who you are. So you'll spend some time, you'll go through a PBL exercise, we'll guide you through it, and then we see how you work together as a group. Then you can ask questions about so it's just a little bit more than an hour that you'll be in with your interview group, and then you're with us for the whole day. This is just a little bit about all the community outreach we do and who we see in LA and really all over California and sometimes down into Central and South America. That's just a picture. So when I say like everyone gets together, these are all different resources that depending on what the event is, a couple months ago, we did a whole day with the LA VA office. We do a lot with Operation Smile and different programs. That this is one of our biggest mobile clinics. This has 8 full operative seats set up in it that we can see patients at a time. And that was just a trip to Colombia. The trip that just got back, as I mentioned, it was in Jamaica. And this is our information if you want to take a screenshot, and I will stop there.
All right. So this has been fantastic, Christine. I'm face palming that I haven't been doing these dental things sooner, but this has been great information. I'm learning so much about your program. Now I'm going to bring the skunk to the garden party, I'm afraid. And then I'll
Yeah.
stop the recording and kids can ask you questions if they have them. The recently passed budget bill puts a cap on student loans, and USC Herman Ostrow is going to get
Very
into your
cool.
wallet. So, can you talk a little bit about, I was really surprised when you said it sounds to me like your application pool just continues to swell, right? Your applicant pool. What are the, is it just that you're getting richer and richer kids applying? What are we doing about, what's going to happen? What are the downstream effects?
Yeah. Okay, that's a great question. And I will be honest, I don't know yet.
Yeah,
So, I mean, we saw the bill 3 months ago, two
yeah,
months ago,
yeah,
we voted
yeah.
in. And all of that aside, we haven't necessarily seen the effects of that yet. Yes, tuition is going up. I feel like universities are getting hit hard around the country due to research getting cut, etc. So I think what I am seeing, just in this, I would say in these last 2 years, and this is not for everyone, the HPSP scholarship has drastically increased.
Mm,
For those who are not familiar, that is an opportunity to apply for the military scholarship that if you are awarded, your schooling is paid for. And then you go into that branch for X amount of years to serve whatever the requirements are. And and I'm not saying that as a pro or a con, I'm just stating it as a statement.
yeah.
This current year, I think we have 9 students come in on that out of the 144.
Mm,
Just this last year's class of 2025, we had 10 graduating students who are going into the military, and our numbers are only increasing. Where in the last few years, we've had 1 or 2 per class, we're seeing anywhere from like 6 to 10 per class. So I
mm.
think that is a very popular thing that is helping students. The other one, and I'm always going to break the acronym because I can never remember it. It is the National Health Service, the NHSC. It's the National Health Service Corps Scholarship Program, I think. And that is an organization that, depending on what you are awarded, um, it's a scholarship that you have to reapply every year. And it is 50 to 100% of your tuition, I believe. I
Wow.
think most students come in at 50 to 75% of your tuition. But when you graduate, you have to apply to a certain kind of job. And basically, you are promising for X amount of years, you will serve in a low income, certain they will give you, like, you're going to say, okay, I live in Camarillo, I live in Ventura. They're going to say, here's all of what we qualify as this in that area.
So you're effectively contracting
So that has nothing, they're coming in finding the scholarship. The
okay,
scholarship program has nothing to do with
got it.
Ostro.
Got it.
I just see the uptick. I think I had 18 students who
Wow.
applied as D1s for this scholarship.
Mm,
I'm just saying I think a lot of students are pursuing, I don't want to call the military a private organization, but they're pursuing outside funding
yeah.
that is covering their scholarships.
Yep.
Or not their scholarships, covering
Their
their
tuition.
education, their tuition. Guys, do not get me wrong. USC is very expensive. Um, as I mentioned earlier, just as an off point, the in-state versus out-of-state tuition, we are a private school, so there is no difference. you are just going to be charged more money across the board. Um, but we are trying really hard. We are understanding what is happening with that and what I think we have yet to see how that's going to drastically change these next few years. So our scholarship program got reshifted. Instead of X amount of students only getting this much money, we have X amount of students getting more money that are renewable. Our alumni relations offices are trying to up our endowment as much as possible. Last year, we gave 148 merit and endowment scholarships out to our students. So we are trying as much as we can as we are able to provide funding as well. But again, perfectly honest, a lot of students are pursuing right now the loans and what they can to move forward with that. A lot of alumni organizations are popping up. So guys, I would encourage you, if it's not Ostrow that you end up at, but UCSF, UCLA, NYU, etc., I would encourage you to look at the alumni organizations of those schools to say like, hey, maybe you're a maybe your dad's in healthcare and they have this alumni chapter from this school. I can't think of any examples specifically, but if you feel like you meet those qualifications for those alumni chapters from these schools, reach out to them. We have, there'll also be scholarships that will pop up that obviously will not help cover tuition, but like Colgate offers a scholarship. It's a contest for third and fourth years that it's like a most interesting patient case write-up. We had a third year win first place, not this last year, but the year before. It was $10,000. You know, Crest gives away scholarships. The big research company 3M gives away money. So there's a lot of those options out there. So we're really just educating students to pursue what is out there to help upfront with scholarships.
Yeah.
And then the organizations who are there post graduation to help pay off loans. Like I think it's called the White Coat Project, the White Coat Program, something along those lines. Similar to the NHSC scholarship I talked about, it is a fund that post graduation, X amount of years, like per year, they will pay off X amount of your loan for giving back to the community that you're in. I know that there is a tribal network that if you guys meet requirements, if you're part of a tribe, that will help pay off if you serve as a dentist in their tribes and their organizations. You know, so there's a lot out there.
Got it.
Um, and we're doing our best to help educate what is there and what the options are to pay off the tuition.
Well, I sorry for springing that on you,
No,
but I
it's
appreciate your candor and
yeah.
talking us through that because, yeah, I mean, necessity's the mother of invention when you get, an funding environment like the one we're in. I want to be respectful of your time, but I also want to make sure I'll stop the recording now.